Yes! 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 Okay, I got really pumped this week, because Kachidoki Arms appeared on Gaim, and wow, that was an entrance. But first we gotta talk about Toqger, as that's how I roll. I liked this week's episode. Yeah, I know I bash Toqger a lot for its idiocy, but they got it more along the lines of right this week, and that's sort of a pun, because, well, Wright was kind of acknowledging that he tends to be an idiot, because he couldn't remember where he saw the train. Yeah, they were trying to find the tank Resha this week, which is the third of the support arms, which I discussed last week that they lost some of them when the Shadow Line started forming. General Schwartz, which I found to be the most interesting of the Shadow Line group, finally made his realistic debut as a, okay, not exactly, because he's been consistently through him, but it was the first time he battled the Toqger himself, though, considering none of the other Shadow Line people have it all, that's another, I'm contradicting myself. Schwartz showed he wasn't complete and utter badass, and worthy of his title, because when he comes in, he just walks through them, and literally walks through them. He goes, not transparent, intangible. He went intangible while they were striking him, and while he was moving through them, he was also striking at them. Yeah, this guy is really reminding me of Ecliptor from Power Rangers in Space, ironically enough. Because he's a really strong, really intelligent enemy general, and they fleshed him out a bit more in that he's obsessed with the Toqger's trains because he wants to be general of the, well, you know, Shadow Line guys. His dream is having an entire army of battle trains, so that explains his sudden obsession with upgrading their equipment upgrading the enemy's equipment when they're fighting people with a bunch of trains. Yeah, they both use trains, but I'm saying that his were more travel and conquer with the minions, whereas Toqger's were train. Yeah, the Shadow Line's trains are a means to an end. Toqger's trains are just trains. I'm contradicting myself constantly as I make statements. So yeah, Wright couldn't figure out where he saw it, so they go searching through the woods with Hikari trying to note their way, but since they're also being followed by the Shadow Line guys, their clues to directions get messed with, so they end up going in circles. Or they didn't come across them, and Wright was just leading them in circles, either or. But a subplot of the episode, well, part of the subplots of the episode, was Tokati bringing up that with the train transfer system, there's really not a consistent leader, because normally the Red is the leader, but anybody can be the Red in this series, so they kind of have to nail it down. So first they think it should be, since Tokati brought it up, he should be it, because no one really wants to really take it. Except that Wright's smarter than him, and no, not Wright. Hikari is smarter than him, and Wright is more charismatic. Why'd I say Wright is smarter than him? Wright's an idiot. It's how my brain works. My mouth works faster than my brain. So yeah, the subplot was him trying to prove that he's leader material, even though the other two guys have something more that brings it to the table in the charismatic one. Because the leader is not always the best qualified person. I mean, Jen in Power Rangers Time Force, she was the leader of her group in the future, and when they went back in time, she was still the leader, but Wes took over because, well, not exactly took over, but he was combat ish leader because he knows the terrain, and well, pretty much every Power Ranger and Sentai series is formatted so that the Red inevitably gets put in charge. She was definitely second, though. I'm trying to phrase this correctly. Anyways, they get attacked, and they get separated, and Toqger, trying to prove he's leader, he should be the leader, ends up getting caught and used as a hostage when Wright does his solo thing again. Yeah, I commented this last time. Wright is more the type to just rush into a battle and do it solo, and a bit of character development for that this week is someone got put in danger, specifically Toqger, when he did that. So he might be trying to rein that impulse in, because one of the things I said or implied to say was they really need to start working as a team instead of individuals just swapping powers. Or if I didn't say it, I'm saying it now. And that's something they need to work on, and if this show gets adapted, that could be a decent reason for the plot, because when they get the tank Resha, it's a support max that, well, allowed them to, when they worked together, defeat the other Shadow Line trains, which were equivalent in strength of the Rainbow Line this week, until they got the tank Resha hooked in. Anyways, so yeah, Wright can't remember where it was, but Hikari, being the smartest of the five, figured out where to look from the clues of the food from last episode. So it's also continuity, which I really liked, because a lot of shows don't do that very well, in that they don't foreshadow things in a previous episode until you look way back on it, or realize, wait, we were going to do this. Why haven't we been doing it? That was one of Kyoryuger's problems. The villain Endorf got introduced about halfway through the series, then disappeared for 20 episodes. I'm not kidding. Go watch Kyoryuger. He was endorsed as this really big badass, and he only comes back for the last 5 or so episodes, because it's like they forgot him. And I just like continuity. It's probably why I like Gaim so much, because it builds off of everything, and it's not forgetting what came before it. Anyways, yeah. The Hikari and the girls figure out where the tank rush is from the clue of the bamboo shoots, which was one of the food items he got, so it was probably in the forest of bamboo, which Wright, because his memory's shot, ended up leading them to, and then realizing, oh shit, this is where it was, and then try and not successfully lead them away, and yeah, he pretty much failed at that. But fortunately, Hikari got there first. And then, as Schwartz is going to take care of him, he and Toqger get working together, and they get free, and they force it to the train battle of the week. Yeah, this wasn't the strongest part of the episode in the battle with the trains before the robot transformation, but it could have been a lot worse. I mean, they did it with scale models on a track, which was much better because, as I commented on about the second episode, the CGI trains looked terrible. And Tank Recha, boxing gloves. I'm hoping that since the train decouples in two, the left arm has a coupling point as the left arm. I'm wondering if they can attach another limb on top of that, just to be kind of ridiculous, or if someone will do that with the toys. So yeah, they figure out the whole leader thing ends up devolving into a gag in the wrap-up where Mio is the normal yellow, Toku 3, ends up being described as the nagging leader, and that kind of defeats most of the character arc of figuring out who should be in command in what situation if it's not just going to always be the red. Ended on a downer, but overall pretty good. Gaim. Oh. Kota got his spirit broken last episode, and this week it's all about building him back up. He goes back after, Takatora Bata. Yes, I have to keep doing that. After Takatora lets him leave because he thinks he's going to not be involved anymore, a lot of things happen. Namely that Kota's wants to tell Mai, but Michi stops him because Michi's an irredeemable human being now at this point, because at the end of the episode, he says, "Why won't you just do what I say?" And it's this downward spiral into villainy that I'm actually liking with Michi, because then you kind of see all the points pulled together with his character, in that he wants control over his life, and to have control over his life, he has to have control over everyone else that's in his life. So he's not just lying to, say, protect them, he's lying so that everything will stay the same, or stay under his dominion, when I think it started off because he felt like he didn't have control of his life, with how Takatora was overbearing, and then he got power, and then he had a say in what things are. So, but, yeah, Kota any day now is going to call him on his bullshit and lying, because Michi told him not to tell Mai about Yuya, because Mai would then take the blame onto herself. That is emotional manipulation. Granted, he does that a lot, but no more in this because, well, Kota's been working to stop it, and all he needs to say is, "I found out where Yuya is, he's dead, he turned into a monster, and I didn't know it was him when he did it." Now, she probably wouldn't understand immediately, but probably with all the Invest stuff that's invading and more people coming into becoming monsters and fighting against it, she would come to accept it and probably forgive him. And don't quote me on this, but I'm betting that that's going to happen at some point, in that she's the next to find out about Yuya, and it's going to be a thing that Michi sets up to try and control Kota, and it's going to backfire eventually, because Kota's now on his path, the path of a true Kamen Rider, in that they will sacrifice their own happiness for the happiness of everyone else. Yeah, this is doing it a bit better than 4's was trying to do with the legacy of the Kamen Rider thing that kind of got botched after it was set up. So yeah, Kota sees the not Mai again. One of the recurring things is this heterochromiad woman, one red eye, one the other eye, that looks like Mai and is also blonde, that seems to be a representative of Helheim, or a time-displaced version, or some type of spirit that takes the form because she's a familiar figure to them. And it's chosen people to fight for her amusement. She's likely the spirit of the Helheim forest, and she's gotten bored. At least that's my theory on it. We'll see if that's true or not, but she appears pretty much any time one of the riders has donned a belt. At least she's appeared for Kota, Kaito, and Michi. Except they've never really commented on it. So yeah, she tried to do this double talk that stay and win or leave and have hope, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I think the translation was just off on that. But yeah, she was on board for him getting out of there as well. Or I think the phrasing was meant that it's just giving up, which then he talks to DJ Sagara. We do not know who DJ Sagara is at this point, but he can apparently create lock seeds from any type of fruit. Yeah. This fruit bar they go to, He meets him there and appears and turns a normal orange into the Kachidoki lock seed while revealing more of the insider thing. Ryoma is the evil madman of this series. Just calling it now. He is pretty much at this point Dr. Maki from O's. Now, I love O's, but it was made more obvious that Dr. Maki was evil from his first episode, and he appeared at episode 6. Ryoma's been around... Okay, when were the Energy Riders? Ryoma's been around since, like, episode 14? Yeah, he's been around for 8 episodes, and we've only figured out that he's evil in the last 3. Now, I know they kind of lampshaded it hard on O's that he'd eventually turn out to be the big bad because his motivations are, well, he wanted to destroy the world from his outset. That's what he wanted. That's what he said. But Ryoma's... I don't get Ryoma at this point. Because he's creating these things as an arc so they can save at most 1 billion people. And... was it billion or trillion? And he's, like, obsessed with knowledge and taking over, because he, I mentioned the Kaito Alliance in previous episodes. He has Kaito giving out the packages of dictionaries and a plates of humanity, like they put on satellites when they're sent out into space in case... like the Voyager 6 probe from Star Trek The Motion Picture. Anyways, so he's trying to, like, harness the power of the forest and make it his, because he wants that ultimate power. And Kaito wants it too, because he's all about only recognizing the strong, and the forest makes people strong, so Kaito's thinking he can take that power as his own, and is being manipulated because of that will for strength. And Kaito tangent, he's encountered the Overlord Infest, at least the Red Overlord Infest, because, spoiler alert, we've been shown that more Invests have obtained the Overlord status. We're not sure, but Not Mai and Sagara might be other Overlords playing their own games, which probably is going to be refuted at some point, but it would explain things, because they're shown to have power over the forest plants, and when they don't take care of the plants, the plants try to find at least the spirit of the forest tries to find new playmates. So it seems like it's not maliciously evil, but is doing evil things because it doesn't know any better and it's bored. I swear there's an evil entity in all of this series I've seen that is something like that. And I want to say the Neo-Organism, but that one had a motivation of it wanting to be its own creature, at least. I'm blanking on the exact one I'm thinking of, but yeah, it's motivation building and things in the next arc overall, and then he gives Kota the Kachidoki Lock Seed and the realization that you need to fight, because if you don't, this system that is going to kill people will win. And yeah, you've killed somebody. You didn't know you did it. But are you just going to let that person's sacrifice be in vain when people are doing that to other people without as much care and pain as you took in? If you step down, someone else will step up and make the same mistakes. Don't let them do that. And then Kota, with the third lock vehicle of his that he just got from Sagara, the one that flies, so now he has a bike, a flying bike, and a walker. Just doing that. He flies up to the scalar system, which is the four orbs on the side of the Yggdrasil building, and he gets attacked, and then he transforms into Kachidoki Arms. Kachidoki Arms is an orange armored shogun, and it is awesome. Seriously. He has 2 flags on his back, which are called Sashimono. I actually looked this up for something completely different. Sashimono are not supposed to be used that way. They're supposed to be used for samurai who are allied with a shogun that do not have the armor of that shogun to acknowledge them as an ally, because a lot of samurai back then didn't have standardized armor or didn't have the emblem on their armor, so they needed something to identify friend and foe. Shoguns do not usually wear them for that reason, because they're the obvious ones. And Kota has his symbol, the Gaim symbol, on his chest in this form, so the Sashimono are pretty much redundant in design. And he actually looks a bit better without them hanging off the back, but they make good supplementary weapons. Thing is, Kachidoki, or Victory, or Triumphant Arms, is insanely powerful. Kurokage troopers. They're the mooks and mass production driver units. They're C-class. They're the lowest ranking Lockseed capable of creating a rider transformation. In the past, it takes 2 Class C Lockseeds to equivalent an armored rider, and 6 of them can be taken down by an energy rider with little issue. In fact, they tend to attack in legions, and Kota and Kaito working together had to use tactics to get past them in the previous few episodes. And Kachidoki takes on 36. I counted them. And he not only takes no damage, the armor in Kachidoki Arms is that strong that 36 firing on him constantly with machine gun fire can't even hurt him. He takes them all down with a shotgun. A ammo-changing shotgun, like strong blasts, short-range shotgun blasts, machine gun fire. It's based off an old Japanese rifle from the Sengoku period called a Tanagashima. I'm probably mispronouncing that or misstating what it is, but it's an old type of flintlock rifle that has had the option for multiple types of ammunition, depending on how you stuffed it, and 36 riders. They're mass production riders, but no damage, clean sweep. Most of them he took down with the DJ gun, because that's what the shotgun is called, in various forms, and he took down another 10 just wielding the Sashimono. And then Takatora takes the stage as Shinzen-Getsu, and they fight sword to sword, because he also has the Muso saber still accessible in that form. And while Gaim takes a bit of damage, Gaim and Jinba Arms was about equal with one of the energy riders. Maybe a bit less powerful. It depended on how he was using his abilities. Kachidoki Arms takes very little damage, and had the battle continued, he would have defeated Shinzen-Getsu outright. But he took the opportunity Takatora gave him to retreat from the battle and take his opportunity to destroy the scalar system using one shot to each of the bulbs with Kachidoki Arms. He not only showcased the full power, or most of the powers, of the Lockseed, and a bunch of riders, an energy rider that was challenging to face him before, and completed his actual objective. Yes! This sequence takes the last 5 minutes of the episode. His actual debut battle before he actually gets to destroying the scalar system is 4 minutes of pure awesome. I mean, usually super and final form fights steamroll in their first introduction and then get upgraded in later ones, but it's very rarely that these days that the final form gets this much of a showcasing. I mean, Infinity Form was pretty fast, about 2 minutes. 4's Cosmic States was more the effects than the actual battle, because that was Koichi Sakamoto. Putatira, well, he was kind of berserk, so it took a while to actually get a full showcasing and not just the rampaging. Extreme, I feel, is close, because they were fighting 2 opponents. Might be Decade Complete, because he used like 2 or 3 Final Common Rides in that one. But yeah, it's been a while since a form like this has gotten that much of a showcase in its opening battle. And it gets better. This is not his final form. I love that phrase. I love being able to say that phrase. There's actually one more that comes in the future called the Extreme Arms, which, like the Jinba Arms, uses that second slot to insert a key that enhances Kachidoki Arm's power. So it's an intermediary form. There's going to be a mix that's... Oh, I'm so looking forward to Extreme Arms, because it allows him to use all of the weapons, and not just the Muso Saber and the DJ gun, it's like all of the other Armed Rider and Energy Rider weapons he gets to use, and I'm looking forward to that. Problem is, this is a late introduction for a super form, but an early introduction for a final form. So, and we didn't have a lot of time to play with the Jinba arms before the next thing came in, because we all thought that was going to be the super form. It wasn't. It was an intermediary upgrade form, and that's pretty rare to see these days, at least. Because we all thought that was the super form, and Kachidoki was going to be the final form, and Extreme Arm is going to be a super final form, which super final forms have been a thing recently with a lot of the riders in that they get an upgrade on top of the upgrade, but it's usually in their starring movie that they get those. And it's usually just a CGI quick upgrade or a weapon or thing they can't use normally, like Forza's fusion states or the Burakawani medals that mysteriously disappeared, or Cyclone Gold Extreme, which is just supercharging the wind charger of the Extreme memory, or Super Complete form, which is just adding in the super forms of a few previous ones to get a stronger complete form, which I didn't even know happened with Decade until recently. But I think this would have been better had it been 2 episodes from now, just to pace it out a bit better and to have a bit more time with Jinba. Just have this... Oh, we're looking for the true power of the Helheim Forest. Hey, and Coach's resolve allows him to get it, and then they're all after him for this key to this, which half of the cast doesn't even know is happening. So Ryoma's becoming more violent and rampant of eliminating him, while Takatora is becoming more adamant that, hey, this kid might be able to save us when we're not being able to save ourselves. And Kota could have still gotten his resolve back and gone to do that with maybe Jinba Peach form, which he got the third of the energy block seeds last episode, and we're probably not going to see the Peach mix of Jinba arms for a while now because of that. Because now we're going to be focusing on Kachidoki. Oh, we are going to be focusing on Kachidoki. I'm sorry, I do love the design of that armor. It is like... It is what I wanted to see the Gaim armors start out as, instead of this high-up plating with a suit underneath, which wasn't bad for the mix-up, for the mixing system, just that they really didn't mix with the lock seeds very well. It was pretty much just stick to the base form, which isn't bad considering things, but, you know, they look like they're designed to be interchangeable instead of just dedicated. And, you know, not the toys, the actual armor plates for the suits look like they really are interchangeable with the undersuits. And we've only seen it once with Gaim banana arms, where he borrows it from Kaito. I'm rambling at this point. Next week is a spring break special, where the Toqger end up in Zawame City and do stuff with Gaim. Now, this is being advertised as primarily Toqger, so Toqger's crossing over into Gaim, like Decade crossed over into Shinkenger. So the Toqger plots are going to take over Gaim for the week. I do not see this working out well. I may have warmed up to Toqger, but Gaim has a lot of serious stuff going on, and it's growing up, whereas Toqger has this embracing immaturity thing going for it, so it's a really big conflict, so I'm uncertain of how I'm going to feel about it. But it's also a lead-in to Kamen Rider Tyson, which is the Tyson film of the year. Now, if you watched my normal videos and saw my Superhero Tyson Z review, I honestly thought the next Tyson film was going to bring in the solo Toei heroes. Pretty much all of the Toei Tokusatsu series that had a standalone series or one-off sequel, like Kaider or Inazuman or Zubat or a bunch of other things that cameoed in Let's Go Kamen Rider in 2011. Except it's not. Kaider's getting his own movie, so I'm honestly surprised that they're doing this, mainly because Rider War, the third, first one in Ryuki, second one outside, including all of the writers at the time in Decade, and including Decade, and now they're doing it again along the Showa Heisei lines. And yeah, they went with my definition of the Showa Heisei lines and the popular definition of the Showa Heisei lines, in that Zeto, Jay, and Shin are considered Showa, despite being run in the Heisei era. Since that's coming out next week, and the movie's premiering next week, but we won't be able to see it until November due to DVD release and subtitling, I want to say this now since it's on my mind. That's a very stupid idea. Not only for that, but there was a poll on how they were going to conclude it, in that they made two endings. One where the Heisei writers won, one where the Showa writer win. The Showa writer won the poll, so they won the war. Now, I like the Showa era. I believe I implied that pretty well over the last 2 years when I went through most of the series in Tokusatsu Review. But bar J, Black RX, and Super 1, the Showa era should be getting their ass kicked. Because Heisei writers have a wider range of abilities, and the final forms give them a lot higher access to powers. And that's kind of what I was implying with my whole writer power ranking gimmick over there, which I regret more every video I have to involve it with. That was a very stupid idea, but I learned from a very bad influence about that. Yeah, the Showa, I can name on one hand the writers that can completely dominate most of the list, and the big one out of those is Decade. Because Decade pretty much beat every writer before him already. That's pretty much how we did not get a bad end with the Decade writer war, because he turned himself into a time capsule, and the only way to recreate everyone was to encapsulate them, kill them, and encapsulate everything they were into memories, and then have a new Kamen Rider, one that won't use the powers for evil, and that did not have their own world, aka Kivala, to kill him, to release them, and return balance to the multiverse. And he did that. And he still had all the powers of the previous writers. This is established. So, I'm probably overthinking this, considering the writer is yet again Shoji Yonemura. I'm probably thinking about it more than he did. So yeah, next week, Gaim Toqger crossover. Hopefully it'll be good, so I don't have to complain. The show, I've found out, is being written by Yasuko Kobayashi, and, well, she's hit and miss a lot of the time, but I try to like her writing. I do. And she's experienced with writers. She's written a lot of Heisei writer stuff, so it might turn out good. I'm hoping it is. I'm a realist, so I know there's a good chance of it not be. But that's my take on things. See y'all next week.